Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unqualified. My name is Alex. I'm unqualified to give you any advice, but I hope you listen anyway. This show's a little bit about everything, anything, and nothing, all in between. So let's rub the Italian horn and the chili pepper for some good luck because I might actually need this one. Because I am going to be the unpopular opinion penguin over here, and I'm going to have some very strong opinions on this subject that we are reviewing today. It is going to be the prompt, should the LGB be separate from the TQIA plus? And I think we all know my opinion on that one, guys. So, like I said, call me the unpopular opinion penguin. And uh yeah. You know what I like. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell for more content. And I'll bring some more your way. So let's go to the screen and get started. Okay, everybody, we are going to get into the viral Is Pride Still Necessary? Conservative versus liberal gays from Middle Ground from the Jubilee channel. All right. I have done a video on this before. I have well, not on this topic. Well, on this topic, actually, this topic specifically, which is going to be should the LGB be separate from the TQIA plus? That's the topic I'm going to do for this video. And I want to see how these guys react. So let's get started. Let's rub the Italian horn and the chili pepper for some good luck. And let's get started.
My husband is 6'4" and he's
there's your
a man.
protection.
That's not my protection. I walk in that
bullshit.
community dressed just like this in these heels and not
am.
Yeah,
But experience life in America.
to your like sense of freedom, which is so admirable necessary. So it's a beautiful thing that we can have the freedom to,
Change our mind.
admire that. And yeah.
And I think we all want everyone to feel the way that you feel, like you don't
Right.
need it, but that's just not the case.
My name is Sean, and I am a Patreon member who is asked to read you this next prompt. The LGB should be separated from the TQIA plus.
All right, pause. I'd walk forward on this one, obviously.
Saying they should be separated is not saying that one is, less important.
That's a mirror.
Yeah.
So I do want to start with that. But I do think that the LGB is very specific, rooted in science. It's very clear as day. You have lesbian,
Yes.
gay, and bi.
Yes.
Main difference between male and female. We all know what that
Mhm.
is.
The reason why I stepped forward with hesitation was because I think that there are such lived differences and experiences that we experience. Although collectively, I think that we all know the collective experience of being a sexual deviant. There just is a difference in lived experience that I think is important to talk about and acknowledge, and that's my grounds for agreeing with perhaps a separation.
Mine is very different.
Okay.
To be clear, the science is very solid on identities other than gender assigned at birth being valid. Science is very clear, robust. There is no question that it's legit. We, as cisgender people, do a really bad job of standing up for people who aren't cisgender. I call out the fact that cisgender queer people are treated differently than non-cisgender queer people. And until we do better, we don't deserve to have the letters be together.
Much better grounds.
Okay.
So
now they're saying we don't deserve to have the letters together until we treat people of the TQIA plus better. The mental gymnastics on this. Oh my God. Like, try and follow that logic. Can you imagine if someone who, like, what if Tarzan had been, like Tarzan gets off a boat after being raised by monkeys and apes his whole entire life, and he tries to integrate into society. Can you imagine what the mind fuck would be trying to get all this? Oh my God. Just imagine. He would delete himself.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I think in general, this conversation can become very hostile because it seems like, I'm like, oh, I don't want you to be a part. Like, I don't want you to be my friend. I don't want to be with you, be next to you, be seen with you. And that's not the case.
Exactly, that's not the case. Look, I if you wanna be Jupiter the gas giant and you wanna identify as Jupiter, a planet, go ahead. As long like I said, as long as you're not forcing it down my throat. As long as you're not forcing it down my throat, and as long as you're not forcing it down anyone else's throat and making them change their language and forcing them to change their language and throwing a hissy fit if they don't, then I'm good. You do you, boo boo. You do you. And if, as long as you're not forcing it down someone's throat, then we Gucci. Okay? But once you start involving children, once you start involving kinks and making those a public visual, like a visually public thing, like at pride parades. And I think they talk about it in this episode too, which I will go back and I will talk about and I'll review it. But I want to get through this portion first.
One is an identity and one is a sexuality.
Yes.
And that's just the simple difference between the two. Eventually, as both groups are fighting for their own personal interests, those are going to not work cohesively. So one is going to be quieter and one is going to get taken advantage of, et cetera.
Exactly.
And it's not that we can't support the TQ plus.
Right.
I just think that they're two vastly different things.
I think that you oversimplify identity versus sexuality, though, because there are tons of men who identify as straight who have, on occasion, with regularity, once in their life, sex with men, which is why
They're bi.
They're
I
bi.
think once with men, sure,
Yeah.
experimenting, but I think if there is a guy that's identifying as straight that sometimes dabbles with men,
He might identify as straight, but he's
so
not.
you're bi.
So two
Yeah, you're
things. First of
bi.
all, there are lots of gay men that we are allowed that we can call gay all day and all night that occasionally have sex with women, and we don't question whether or
They're
not they're
bi.
gay.
They're bi.
But are
Yeah,
you
exactly, they're
entitled
bi.
to titling someone else's? Is
We are
that up to you?
The title is an objective fact. If
Yeah.
you sleep with men and women, then you are bi.
Exactly.
What if someone that you were
I
that we're
don't care
talking
what
about
you
doesn't
feel.
agree?
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't
That
agree,
doesn't
See, that's the thing. This is the problem, is we get too caught up in how people feel. We care too much about how people feel. And, feelings are important. I will say that. Feelings are important, but facts are reality. Facts are what's truly important. Facts are rooted in reality. And we need to follow that, or else we're going to lose all concept and notion and sense of reality. And it's going to get messy, guys.
that's
Makes
fine.
sense.
But the fact is, you sleep with men and women, so you're bi.
Exactly.
Flat
Sorry.
out.
Can we not talk about who we're having sex with? Just for this prompt.
Because a lot of what's in the media today is sensationalized content about, targeting children.
Exactly.
A lot of it is valid, and some of it is not. But a lot of times, it's gay men that are doing it, and trans people are getting blamed for it when it's really gay men in drag.
Right.
And because the letters are together, people don't know the difference. And even when I first started coming out, the first thing that somebody said to me was, "Are you going to transition into a woman?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with my sexuality. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but because they're together from an outsider's point of view, optically, I think if our goal is to educate the populace on who we are, then we need to make a more clear distinction between LGB and TQ+.
Exactly. See, nowadays, if a girl likes blue, or if a girl likes playing with army toys, or if a girl likes playing cops and robbers, or if a girl likes sports, or it dresses masculine or something, like if a girl's a tomboy, let's put it that way. If a girl is a tomboy and goes through a tomboy phase, trans. Oh, so is your daughter transitioning? I'm so thankful that none of this hit me when I was a kid, because I was a big tomboy when I was a kid. My mother hated it. Oh, oh, My mother hated the fact that I was a tomboy. She's like, "When is she gonna start wearing dresses?" And then finally when I started getting into girly things and I started, around 22, when I started getting into I'm kidding. Like, when I started getting into girly things around, like 16, 17, um yes, that's late. Uh I started getting into, like, girly things around, like, my 16th birthday when I had my sweet 16, and I started wearing, like, fancy dresses, and I went to prom and all that kinda stuff. So I started getting into girly things then, and my mother was like, "Thank God." And and she's like, "Thank God, I thought you were gonna be gay," and then I turned out bi, you know? And so which is, like, kinda like a kick in the ass for her. And so, you know, it's it's just I'm so happy that I didn't get that end of the shtick where people would have been like, "Oh, so is your daughter gonna be trans because she's a big tomboy?" I'm really glad that that didn't happen to me,
I don't disagree. I think
and my parents wouldn't have put up with that. They would have been like, "Fuck no." They would have been like, "No, she's a girl."
it's just important that if we do that, we don't erase any of the validity of the people who are in the group that we're
Absolutely.
not a part of. And also,
Right.
what I wonder about in this context is some people are born intersex, so they have sexual organs of both genders. How do we identify?
Why do they always bring that up? I understand it exists. I understand it exists. I'm not invalidating anybody, but they always bring that up. They love to bring that up, and it's like that tiny, tiny, minuscule grain of sand portion of the population that is intersex. BFFR.
under the criteria you guys have identified, how would we label them? Because if they have
Intersex.
both and they have sex with only one gender, what are they?
It's such a rare case. I'm not
But it
saying they
does
don't
exist.
exist.
I don't
It
think
does.
the exception makes the rule.
Yeah.
Exactly. They love to bring up these exceptions because they wanna make up rules and all this kinda stuff, and they love to do it to confuse people.
Like, there's people born with
I
11
think as
fingers.
human
There's
beings, we
people-
like to package things that we can develop a palette for. We like to make things more palatable. We like to establish clear-cut rubrics
Right.
for what is and what isn't a person. I think that's just the natural human
That's how
tendency.
our brain categorizes
But
things.
but I think that what separates us from the apes is that we can give
Talk.
credence to these differences and create pockets of space, at least for a discussion, if you don't necessarily agree or whatever.
Alright, let's see what the disagreeers say.
I think it would be an incredible disservice to the transgender community who gave us a lot of the beginning for us to fight for our rights, a separation from them, now that we have our rights. That's just so privileged of us. Like Marsha P. Johnson threw that first brick at Stonewall, and because of her,
She didn't throw the first brick.
Exactly.
Or the
She got
second
there-
or the
she got there
third.
at 2 a.m., first of all. And second of all, Marsha P. Johnson
Ooh,
was
he's
also a
pissed.
gay man. So when she was fighting for those rights, she was fighting for gay rights because she was gay.
was she a
I
gay
totally
man because
agree.
of the time that it was?
She
I
didn't.
don't
She didn't
know, but she
transition
was
until
gay.
long
She was-
after Stonewall actually
She was
happened.
drag
But that's
queen.
neither here nor
I
there.
don't- well-
We're here to defend. I'm here to defend the TQ being part of the
Ooh,
LGB.
love his braids. Just gotta say that.
Yes, there are some gay men that will overlook what's underneath the belt. That happens. But to say
Love
that you
your braids, Mario.
have to like them, that's wrong. And I also have a heart for the Q because we can't clearly define the Q. When I was young, it was questioning. Now it's queer. Queer was a slur once upon a time. But I look at those people who were former homosexuals who now live a heterosexual lifestyle. They're never going to be accepted by the straight community, and they're not going to be accepted by our community. So I've put them under the Q umbrella. Those straight people who do have sex with the same gender on occasion, they would fall under that Q. They may not fall under the B. So I have a heart for them because they do exist in our spheres. We just can't put them on a pedestal above any of us because we're all in this together.
And I also
Great.
don't think that they should be divorced because I'm a huge disability advocate. I have a mental health condition. It's very different from someone who uses a wheelchair. We still have a disability.
Yep.
What you're getting at is that we're a minority. They're a minority. And the more that you take apart those minorities, the harder it is for us to fight for our rights.
The queer community is already divided.
minorities.
Since the queer community is already divided, I think separating the two is going to make them even more divided and a lot more animosity between queer and T with LGB.
It's a double-edged sword because in one way it's like, okay, well, we don't want to divide too much because we don't want to lose our united front against heteronormativity or whatever. But then at the same time,
Please. Oh my god. What is this fight against heteronormativity? Oh my gosh. I mean, like, we must gather as many syllables and letters as we can into our alphabet so we can fight against heteronormativity. Um, and so we must gather as many letters as possible. Gather all the letters. Gather them all. No, I mean, like, gotta catch them all. You know, I mean, guys, uh, it's just it. Does anybody else get a headache from this? Does anybody else? I mean, when someone let's put it this way. When someone says, "Oh, I'm gay," or "I'm lesbian," or "I'm bi," I'm like, "Oh, okay." But when someone says, "Oh, I'm flower, flower self," or "I'm funny, funny self," or, like that pronouns girl who lost her mind because she was misgendered at a bar. I'll react to that video in another video. Um, I just get a headache from those people, and I'm just like, "Look, you have the right to exist, but I just I can't. I can't. I got enough on my plate." I and that's coming from someone who people have said that to me about me, and so I get it. Okay? But it's just like I don't have the mental capacity right now to do mental gymnastics aside from, "Oh, you're gay, you're bi, you're straight, you're lesbian. Okay, cool. We Gucci." But once you start bringing in all those pronouns, zim, zer, zee, za, duh, I can't. You're just making sounds at that point, and I can't follow.
if we can't teach the nuances of our various identities to a heteronormative society, then it's like, okay, well, aren't you gay? Aren't you trans? Like it's all the same thing to them. So I think it's a balance between being all awash and then also noting that we are uniquely made up of all these different experiences. And
But I think if we had a
all agree
stronger
here that they all
community, like
matter.
that wouldn't be the case. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Like if you don't like me because who I am, I know that my brother right here or my sister right there is gonna like me and they're gonna support me. And that's all I need because it's all about my personal experience and what's in my circle. You don't need to be in my circle, but because it's within my own circle that I'm getting all this, belittlement and hatred. Everyone just wants to be accepted, honestly. Like
Yes, everybody just wants to be accepted because it's all about me, 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 me. Okay? And that's anybody's motive is me, 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 me. And eh, you're gonna find your people. No matter where you go, you're gonna find your people unless you're a loner psycho. Unless you're like a Jeffrey Dahmer who's a lonely psycho. You're gonna find your people.
that's the way it's looked at.
And can't we all, to some extent, identify underneath the Q? Your attraction maybe has shifted in some way to different types of men. Like, things are constantly evolving and, in my opinion, fluid. So to kind of force ourselves even into the LGB is to sit within the binary that doesn't help any of us anyways.
But I think all the Q stuff
You make no sense, sir. You make no sense.
is just a matter of your personality.
Right.
Like we have so many different labels, and you like this kind of person, then you're this sexuality. When reality just goes back to
But it's not
you're
a
gay,
function
straight,
of
or bi, and then
a-
your personality.
But our
And it's
community is
just-
not doing itself any services by categorizing ourselves. Bear, twink.
Yeah,
And then you see it on
yeah.
the apps, on the profiles. Oh, no fats, no femmes, no this, no that. We're already segregating ourselves.
We can still be a community while having a better way of explaining what the differences are between the letters. Because, I mean, even in our conversation today, you guys are talking about a lot of anti-LGBTQ legislation. And as if I was a gay person watching, I would think, oh my gosh, like they're coming for my rights. They're coming for my rights. But a lot of times that legislation has to do with the TQ+. And I'm not saying I agree with it. We don't need to go into the legislation. All I'm saying is that the narrative that gay men are being attacked when other letters are not giving any merit to the attacks. It is confusing and it's harmful to young gay men and their success because they're force-fed this narrative that they can't.
That's totally fair, but there's been over 560 legislation bills put into like some sort of vote, right? And over 220 of those have been for transgender. That leaves what, around 300 plus, not just at the TQ.
I think that there's a lot of nuance when it comes to the laws that we have to talk about. But either way, when you say over 500 LGBTQ plus, the distinction between the two gets lost. And I don't think that it's.
I passed one of those
matter.
laws.
No one's
I
saying it
passed
doesn't
one of those
matter.
laws in Nebraska that protects children under the age of 18 from receiving gender affirming
Good for
care and
you.
hormones. Because I've seen.
And you're proud of that.
Yes, I am very proud
I
of
am
that.
so ashamed
because
of you.
because I have friends who had their first experience
amount
with
of
affirming care.
internalized
Can I
homophobia and
finish?
queerphobia and
But can I
shame that you are
finish?
sitting here
But
with
can I
because
finish?
of the
Let him
stuff
finish.
you felt as a child
I'm sure a lot of us
is so
disagree with him, but
sad.
let him finish because we both have things
We can
to say.
all talk, but like let's let each
Because
other
when I
finish.
passed this legislation that you say targets LGBT people, I sat next to a young girl who her first experience with this type of care was a double mastectomy at 15.
That's
She's
horrible.
now 19, doesn't
And
know
how
if she'll be
common
able
is
to.
that?
It's
It's
actually
not.
very common because
How
than
common?
3%
I want a
of
number.
people.
How
Can I
common?
finish?
Oh my God. He's one of those people who just doesn't shut the fuck up. Oh my God. He's just one of those people who has to like just get in every single time. You know, every pause you have, he has to get in his fact. Oh geez. I wouldn't be able to handle this person. I would be like, shut up and let me talk. Because, it's, you know, it's either I,
How
Can
common?
I
This
finish
is you
though?
passed
You're
the law.
asking me a question in the middle
You
of my
passed a
statement.
law. You
You're
passed a law that affects so many
look
kids
how
from feeling like they're
angry he is. Look how look how like angry he is. Look at his neck and the veins that are bulging in his neck. He's so passionate about this and he's so angry and Mario's just over there chilling. And Mario's like happy at the fact that he passed this bill. I'm proud of Mario for passing that bill. Good for him.
Yes, I
themselves.
did.
Transgender
I'm proud
kids.
of my law.
Oh my
That's
God.
unfortunate, and I'm ashamed
If
of you
that's what it's going
because.
to take to get you to stop so I can finish my thought, I appreciate that.
All right, you know
So-
what? I'm going to shut up until you finish, but I would really like to say something when you're done.
Sure. The person that I testified with,
I love when you're calm and collected and these people just get angrier and angrier. Oh my God.
who their experience was a
The
double
one person.
mastectomy.
Let him
the
finish,
Oh
one
my
person.
God,
let him finish, let him
please.
Can you
finish.
step in? Like,
Let
can
him
we
finish, let him finish.
People talk.
Okay, that one person was one person in Nebraska.
One
but
person
I know
is
a
too much.
plethora of
And what
other
state do you live
people.
in?
Hold on, let him finish. Let
I
him
know a
finish.
plethora of other people in other states
The
all over this
generalizations
country
are so easy. I
who
know a
are
plethora of
feeling-
people all over the
who-
Let's
country.
pause
Can
and
we
then
not do this?
we'll
Like,
get
what is
it.
the
Okay.
can we let them talk?
Let's just
You're
pause.
gonna get time
Yeah.
to talk.
I don't
It's
appreciate
okay.
that.
I know, I'm furious
You
too,
don't
but let's
appreciate-
let him
here's the deal.
finish.
He's pissed off more than you, and he's quiet. Just let him. You're gonna get your point out. Just let him.
I'm
talk.
good. Thank you.
Just let him talk.
Okay. Let's pause.
You say how many people? You say it's a small subset. But for the people who it affects them for the rest of their lives. A decision they made as a child will affect them for the rest of their lives. This
And that's because the adults didn't do anything to protect them. Because the adults wanted the cash of big pharma. The adults wanted the cash of the surgeries. That's why. Because they wanted to make a cash cow out of a child for doing experimental surgeries that they haven't perfected. That's why. And that's why gender affirming surgery should be nowhere near children.
this person will never feel their sensation on their chest. They don't know if they're going to ever be able to have a child, and they know they will never be able to breastfeed. They will never be a woman in the regular senses.
Nope.
And this is happening more and more because we're conditioning
Doesn't give
our
a
young
crap.
people to say, hey, this is okay, this is okay. You can make these decisions. As a senior in this community, I have to say, wait a second, you guys are kids. Wait till you have your whole lives. Let's talk about this.
Honestly, shame on you for not going after the actual facts. I realize your anecdotal experiences move you, and I respect and appreciate that.
No, you don't.
But let's be perfectly clear. The most permanent thing a kid can go through is puberty, first of all.
Yeah, and they should
So
be allowed
when
that.
you deny a kid the opportunity to pause puberty, we're just talking, first of all, talking about puberty blockers.
Which straight kids do all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yes, since the 80s, kids have been prescribed puberty blockers for a variety of reasons. And the law you passed prevents that. So you steal from kids who would like to be able to pause the ability to further. Fewer than
Are you stupid? Are you stupid? What kid wants to pause puberty? What kid wants to actually pause puberty? Make it make sense.
than 3% of people who do any kind of transition regret it and go back. Fewer than 3%. Finally, I want to make this very clear. I'm not done.
Yeah, and shouldn't that be too much? Shouldn't any people who regret transitioning be too much? You know, I've never really met anyone who's detransitioned, but I've seen stories, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. You know, and I have a soft spot for people who detransition because they fucked up and they made a mistake and they can't go back. You know?
You were so mean to everybody else who want to talk to you. My
He was
turn.
not mean. He was not mean. He was so sweet, Mario. Mario, I love you.
Vodka soda.
Good lord.
Wheatley, so good I drink it. This song right here.
So catty.
There has been
He's smiling.
really robust standards of care laid out by all the leading medical associations that has been in existence for a long time that is science-based about guidelines for these things. But to be clear, the guidelines are very specific about this is supposed to be the parent's decision with their kid, with their medical provider. What you did was rob all those families of choices. Your opinion, because you believe you know better than science, you know better than parents, you know better than people who even do know themselves, you're going to prevent them from having options because you personally have a problem with something that a couple of people and some other people you're aware of knew.
It sounds
None
like
of them are
something within
statistically
himself.
significant. Maybe you've got dozens of people you know of, hundreds. That's a teeny tiny little sliver. You will never know or know of all of these people, and yet you've decided for them, and shame on you for it.
I think we all can agree, though, that even though he's passed legislation, over 18, you don't care what they do.
I don't care what they do.
Exactly. Once you're over 18, you do you, boo-boo. I agree with that. Once you're over 18, you do you, boo-boo, and go mess up your body. I don't give a crap either. I really don't. If you wanna mess up your body and you wanna ruin the chances of you having children, go ahead. But when you rob a child of that and the child doesn't understand the gravity of that situation, that's wrong. That's evil.
You know, you're just more so protecting the kids.
He's protecting
that
kids he
are
doesn't
going
have.
His laws more so protecting those kids that are just tomboys, tomgirls, that are just they're being force fed this idea like, oh, I'm gay, maybe I'm a girl, and then like they're just like pink. They like are more feminine and just oh, actually transition. And
I don't think it's that simple.
And
I just hate
I
that
feel
this is such an
bad.
absolutist discussion on both sides because it's like you guys are like, no, there's nothing. No, don't interrupt me.
I'm not being absolute.
I'm not being absolute either.
Okay, but I
Please
just
don't put
don't
words
think.
in my mouth.
Okay,
I'm disappointed that someone
Can you let me
is
talk,
proud
please?
to sit
Can you let
here
me
and
talk?
pass a law that harms children
I got
when
it.
we know that our queer
we know your
community
point. We got it. We know
is
your point.
so harmed
Clark is
already.
so mad.
All I'm saying is that your guys are not making space for the people who have gone through this process and
He's, like,
regret
so
it. I
fed up
personally
with
know
it.
someone in the same situation that you were in. And I'm not sitting here arguing for either side because I think this is a very nuanced discussion. It used to be a 2-year process. Now it's 6 months. Those things are changing because the capital and the motive behind it is now, which I'm sure that you guys on this side are against capitalistic, healthcare. That's pushing it. And those guidelines, yes. There's a lot of money to be made in gender affirming care.
A lot of money to the
Really?
doctors who are
1.6 million
prescribing
per child that gets on it. That's throughout their lifetime. That's how much that
There are
pharma
so
makes.
many other things that kids get that make people more money.
I understand that, but you're not leaving any room for nuance in this discussion.
Actually, I would argue that you guys aren't leaving room for nuance because you make a decision.
I never said a statement.
Well, okay,
on
I
it.
apologize. And for those of you that I have been mean to, I'm sorry. I love and respect all of you as people.
No, you don't.
Nuance
think it's
is
a lot.
valuable, and that's why we leave it up to the parents and the medical professionals and the individuals who are making these.
The medical professionals aren't looking out for the children. They just want money.
Decisions. There are people who get hair plugs and regret it. There are people who get nose jobs and regret it. There is no such
But
thing.
we don't
There's
give
no,
hair
I'm not,
plugs
there
and
is
nose
no,
jobs to kids.
there,
But
no,
kids can get
the
nose
point is-
jobs, can get
Pause.
breast jobs. Of course, kids are getting this all the time.
Oh, he's done. She's waiting on us.
Sorry, I think it sounds like we're not really going to find a middle ground between some of you.
We will have to hug
But
later.
can I actually sort of like wrap it up into a middle ground
Yeah.
moment?
Go for it.
I think this is exactly going back to the point of why there is a separation, because it's a very lived different experience than just being a cisgendered gay man. That was the whole point of the prompt.
This is everyone's opinion, and no matter like how frustrating it can be, going and attacking people, like it was just a lot. If that was me, like I would be so mad and I would just go off. So, you know, I commend you for really like holding your composure.
And I just want to apologize because that's absolutely right. And I broke my own rule in being fired up in the things I said to you. And I'm sorry, that's not how
Apology
you
accepted.
deserve to be treated.
And I ultimately do
Okay, that was nice.
side with my liberal brothers that I don't agree with the legislation, but
It's not malicious.
I see where you're coming from, and that exists, and people
That
that live
energy
here,
could
they
have been put into
do,
so
they
many other
have that.
important
But I do
things.
disagree with legislation, but I don't necessarily have to personally attack you.
All right. Okay. So that was that, everyone. Okay, so that was my reaction. I know, like I said, unpopular opinion penguin over here. And if you don't like it, tough nuggets. If you don't like it, that's your problem. That's your problem that you have with me. That's a you issue. And I don't really give a crap. I mean, I care what people think to an extent. I'm not going to let it bother me. But, you know, I I just I don't have time and I don't have energy to care what people think on the internet. You know what I mean? Put down in the comments section if you know what I mean. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Hit that notification bell for more content, and I'll bring some more your way. And I will see you guys in the next one. Hasta la pasta, baby. Bye.